Again, welcome and thank you for joining us. We have a Notion with all the links that are necessary. So let me just show you. I want to make sure that you guys are seeing my screen. Yeah. So this. So in case this is your first subcommittee meeting that you're joining us, there is on the chat there is a link to the Notion, and you can find all the information on the sovereign finance AVC. Of course, our governance strategy document, which is both in English and Spanish, since we want all the Spanish speakers to get to know more and get involved in the Maker governance. So we have then the governance strategy document. Of course, a reminder that our calls are every Thursday at this time at 6 p.m. UTC. And not only that, but you also, if this is your first time, you can also find documentation and information about the previous calls last week or even our first meeting. Well, all the documentation and information and all the links necessary that are also here. And you can find this on the chat. And of course, also there is the links related to our current meeting, which is the support scope. Okay, having said that, let's go back to this. And of course, if you already know about us, thank you for coming again. And if you appreciate our work and share our values, be an aligned delegate of our Sovereign Finance AVC. Also, again, you can get to know more about aligned governance strategy, which is the same document that it's on the Notion, which is this part. And it's both, again, English and Spanish. Not only that, but we have some announcements. If you are, of course, an AMKR holder, you can delegate it to our current aligned delegates. Clocky and Paul, thank you so much. Now, with this information, and I'm going to mention, of course, our delegates as well, but in a bit. Let's get into it. Let's get started. So first of all, I am ready. I have a bottle of water because I'm going to be talking a lot today. This code is pretty long. And there are 12 categories, as you can see. And we're going to go one by one. Okay, so that the information provided here in this scope, it's a lot, yes, but it's not fully developed yet. And some of them are unclear for us. This is like based on our interpretation. And we would love and we would appreciate hearing our delegates' appreciation and insights and perspective on this matter. So it would be really helpful if you could share in the chat all your insights, as this contribute to our understanding and provide valuable input for further discussion. So while we're going through each category of this scope, and there is something that maybe it's not the right way, you can also comment it on the chat. Having said that, again, thank you for the one that are joining us now, and we're going to start. So the scope improvement. So the support scope, as I mentioned, it's a pretty big part of the scope, the line artifact. So let's get into the scope improvement. Let me start by saying that the whole thing, the support scope, is like a set of rules that make sure everyone in the group gets the help they need, and that's good things for the community. And inside the support scope, there is the support advisory council, which is a group of people who are chosen to give advice and make improvements in the support scope. Now let's talk about the advisory council membership management. Well, to be part of the advisory council, of course, people need to apply and meet certain requirements or criteria. So yes, that the members need to be approved by governance poll, As I mentioned, they must fulfill specific criteria, requirements. The advisory council are ecosystem actors, and this is important, are not engaged in any business activities that could create a conflict of interest. And here we are referring to a situation where a person's personal interests could interfere with their decisions. So in the context of this, like, it's important that the members of the advisory council are independent, or are, let's say, free from any conflicts that might compromise their ability to give unbiased advice and guidance. That's the reason why it needs like no conflict of interest. Currently, there are no members in the advisory council, but today as well, we have a template that we're gonna go further into. I'm gonna mention in some minutes later. Now let's talk about the projects and funding. Advisory council paid on a project basis. So yes, the advisory council gets paid to work on special projects that make the support scope even better, like to make them improve. Support facilitators have a budget for advisory council project. Yes, there is some money set aside to pay for the council's project, and this money is used carefully and only for things that really will help. So they have to mention where the money is going and how they are spending it. Currently, there is no budget. Like, I mean, it says there's a budget, but there is, I mean, there is no money set aside for the council's project yet. Also here, there is the DAO toolkit integration. There is a specific slide for this, but what I can mention so far is that, the support scope to be made accessible via the DAO toolkit. And I mean, this is a governance software that it's developed by support facilitators and advisory council members, but we're gonna have further information when the slide that I mean the DAO toolkit category comes in. Okay, now we have the governance support. Support scope is responsible for facilitating routine process. You're gonna notice that the support scope have a lot of, and we're gonna mention a lot also here, like the support facilitators, because in here in this part of the scope, the support scope, they have a lot of power. They're the ones with the most power. So the support scope is responsible for helping with routine processes that follow rules and instructions of the atlas. The scope artifacts. Like if something is unclear or challenged, the governance scope takes. Uh, we have also here support facilitators tasked with tracking and verifying customized processes in scope framings. Support facilitators, as I mentioned, they have a lot of power. They are in charge of many things. They also can publicly designate ecosystem actors. The AVC internal governance process support. So they are responsible for tracking AVC internal governance proposals and votes. They make sure that necessary infrastructure and services are ready for AVCs whenever they need. And they make sure that every 3 months there is an AVC subcommittee meetings for each scope. As I mentioned here, governance process. Well, there is a budget also for these, and they are prioritizing the most critical processes and budget. We have also proposals for this part and also the previous one. We're going to mention the modifications that we think should be beneficial for the ecosystem. Of course, we're going to comment this at the end, but I'm just mentioning now because it's related to this specific section. Although it says here that there is going to be a budget, there isn't yet. There is no budget allocated for this currently. Okay. Let's go to now. Let's move on to the DAO toolkit core development. Okay. I'm gonna read it first, and then I'm gonna explain it. DAO toolkit, it's a unified governance software simplifying maker governance with standardized patterns and usability across scope frameworks. They're founded by support facilitators to implement the scope frameworks as software continuous process to detect and standardize repeating patterns in the DAO toolkit, documentation and verification of best practices. So, okay, in simple terms, the DAO toolkit is a governance software, and as I mentioned before, it's developed by the support facilitator and the advisory council members. So what does this toolkit does is help them organize and this word standardize how they make decisions and share important information. And they want something that they mention is that they want to make it interactive and easy for new people to understand. So basically user friendly. Um, Also, they mentioned here the support facilitators because they are the ones who pay and work on making the DAO toolkit better. And they develop the main software and parts of the DAO toolkit that help the group work together, and they decide how much money they're going to spend on, based on a budget plan. Now, here they're talking about, they mentioned as well the best practices. Of course, they write down these best practices so that everyone can follow them and do things in the best way possible. They also keep an eye on how people are using the DAO toolkit, and in order to make sure that they are doing it properly. And when it comes to the monitoring, well, the support facilitators check how other people are using it. Um, Again, they're following the best practices, and if they are using the standardized ways of doing things. Um, and yeah, so they want to use this in some way to keep an eye on how this tool is being used. And well, something else to mention in here that is there is no allocated budget for DAO toolkit core development tasks. Yes, there is no budget. Well, the different there is budget for this one, so this is a difference. Let's move on to the core artificial intelligence system, the KAIS. Um, okay, so I'm gonna read it first, and then I'm gonna explain again. Well, the KAIS is a large-scale AI system hosted on rented supercomputers, optimizing business processes for MakerDAO and subDAOs. Well, in simple terms, it's like an amazing, cool computer system that helps MakerDAO and subDAOs make better decisions and improve things work. The KAIS assist in generating and improving scope artifacts, offering action suggestions to facilitators, detecting misalignment, and evaluating credit risk and business potential. Um, yes, the KAIS it's really powerful and can handle different and a lot of important tasks. And also the access is kind of like limited. This means that only certain people like MKR holders, subDAO token holders can use it. Now this could be, I mean, the KAIS could be really helpful for because they can give them ideas and suggestions on what actions to take in different situations. So let me give you an example. It can show them how different actions might affect the MakerDAO ecosystem, and it can also help them create new rules and processes for MakerDAO and subDAOs to make them work better. Uh, the KAIS also help with evaluating things, as it mentions here. and they like credit risk and business potential. So this means that it can help people make decisions about how to use the money and resources in a smart and safe way. Then the KAI is based on language models with reflection and fine tuning on created data. It emphasizes open source, safety, and corrigibility. Um, well, yes, there is a budget also for this. What is in order to use to do research, develop and operate the KAIs, and also to cover the cost of hardware and maintenance. Okay, so there is some like a little change. So we have here the KAIs, but there is the new name that is subject to approval. That is guide. And it stands for Governance Artificial Intelligence Tools. I mean, the current name is this one. It's guys, but we're also wanting to mention that the new name that is subject to approval, which is guide. We'll see what happens. Okay. Now let's talk about the milestones and results reporting standardization section. So in general guidelines, all projects funded by the Maker protocol must report their milestones, progress, and results. Um, so these, I mean, they are like checkpoints um, to show if a project is going well or if there are any problems. Transparency, risk, and monitoring reporting. Support facilitators are tasked with researching and mitigating potential risk of transparency. Support facilitators are also responsible for continuous monitoring of milestones and results. So yes, support facilitators have a lot of roles. And when it comes to the budget, detailed reports for all budgets within the Maker ecosystem must be provided by relevant ecosystem actors and facilitator. Um, so yes, it's important for everyone to understand what's going on with these specific projects. That's why they have these standardized guidelines. It means that um, all the projects have to report its progress and results in the same way because this makes it easier for the maker governance to see how things are going. And so they mention also the support facilitator, which are they want to make sure that the maker governance knows the status and how successful projects are, and they want to understand if there is like any risks or problems that might come up. That's why they keep an eye on it, on the reporting to make sure that it's been done properly. Um, so they focus on that everything is transparent and honest about their progress, since this helps avoid any misunderstandings or hiding problems. And when it comes to the part of the budget, well, yeah, the support facilitators, um, they have to provide detailed reports about how they're spending the money. So this way, everyone can see where the money is going and if it's being used wisely. So overall, the milestone and results reporting are all about keeping track of the projects, on making sure everyone knows how they're doing and being open and transparent about where the money is going. Okay, now let's talk about the subDAO incubation. Well, here we need to mention the Genesis templates, which are information related to Genesis templates for facilitator DAOs, for allocation DAOs, and for mini DAO, which is pending. Well, in this, what it says is that the support facilitators are the ones that help build and develop these communities. And they do this by creating communication channels, so like where people like right now, like they can share ideas or and talk to each other. And that's why they mentioned here also that the forum. Um, they also have the Discord, of course, the Discord channel. And sometimes these communities might need to have big meetings or conference. So if they need help with that, they can ask for support, of course, from the support facilitators. Um, and also, when it comes to the Genesis templates, these templates have all the necessary information and guidelines to help the subDAOs do their jobs well. Um, the support facilitators are responsible for incubating the communities for the six launch subDAOs. Now if we go to the 5 phases of new game, this happens in the phase 2. Focusing on communication, community building, and cultural development. Facilitators must deploy resources for setting up and maintaining infrastructure and incubating subDAOs. SubDAOs require a forum, chat server, and possibly conference call capacity. What I just mentioned. So the SubDAO incubation is like helping these communities, the subDAOs, grow by giving them special places to communicate. That's why they set up forums, chat servers, and yes, and even like help them with important meetings. Okay, now there is also an ecosystem actor incubation. Um, the support scope is responsible for incubating ecosystem actors working on useful projects for the Maker protocol and subDAOs. Their objectives include areas like branding, marketing, referral marketing, and smart contract development. Ecosystem actors apply via proposal detailing costs, benefits, team skills, and milestones timeline. An incubating ecosystem actor must present results and meet requirements to receive additional funding. So yes, the ones that are in charge of this is the or responsible for this are the support scope. Um, so they help them grow and prepare them for subDAOs, and they are different objectives for in incubating them, as it says here, right? It could be branding, marketing, user experience, in order to make sure that the subDAOs have the best solutions to attract users. There are also objectives for things like referral marketing and smart contract deployment, um, to make sure everything runs smoothly. For this, there is a budget, and the budget helps cover the cost of the program, and also for administrative tasks, and also funding for the budget for funding and projects. So if an ecosystem actor wants to become an incubating ecosystem actor, yes, as it mentioned here, they need to submit a proposal explaining what they want to do and why they want to do it and how they will do it. Um, Also include information, yes, as the ones that we put in here: cost, benefits, team skills. And what happens if a proposal is approved? Well, the incubating ecosystem actor will receive funding to work on their projects. And during the incubation process, of course, the incubating ecosystem actors need to meet certain milestones, like checkpoints to make sure that they are making progress. Um, And so there is also a list of ecosystem actor. We can mention some like Phoenix Labs, like Side Streams, and and pull up to mention some examples of ecosystem actors. So ecosystem actor incubation, it's like taking care of new and innovative ideas and helping them grow. For these, in order to do this, the maker governance sets objectives and budgets, and the ecosystem actors submit proposals to get funding for their project, and they of course need to meet milestones and show progress. I'm pretty sure everyone has seen that currently there are a lot of proposals to become ecosystem actors. Okay, now let's move on to the ecosystem communication channel. Oh yes, this one. Okay. So communication channels are places where people in the ecosystem can, like this, share ideas, and there is also an ecosystem forum and for different discussions and chat rooms. They have a budget as well to keep everything running smoothly, and it's all about making sure everyone stay connected and share ideas. So let me read. So here it's tasked with maintaining an ecosystem wide forum and chat platform for subDAO participants and ecosystem actors, a platform for business proposal, subDAO partnerships, interactions, and casual conversations for the broader maker ecosystem. The forum, the chat room, initially on Discord, for broad discussion related to subDAOs, ecosystem actors, and Maker. Communication is infrastructure budget allocated for communication infrastructure. There isn't like a lot of information provided. I feel like there is not fully developed, so we'll see what's happening with this. It says there is a budget as well, but currently there is no specific money allocated for this at the moment. Also, yes, it's important to have these channels available for everyone to communicate effectively. Okay, now we go to the ecosystem agreements. Ecosystem agreements are decentralized agreements made by subDAOs and ecosystem actors covering aspects like revenue shares, deals, and milestone payments. Uniform terms for agreement like milestones, payment, breaches result in penalties. We're gonna cover these in a second. Clear breaches can lead to asset seizures or actor blacklisting. This puts handle under support scope with appeal option to governance scope. So in simple terms, ecosystem agreements are like special agreements that can be made by different groups. And these agreements are important because they help create formal promises or formal deals between parties involved. So sometimes subDAOs and ecosystem actors make agreements, and these agreements can be about different things. Let me give you an example. It could be about paying someone for their work, or anything related to this. So they have a set of terms that everyone has to follow, and if someone doesn't follow the rules, there can be penalties for them. So this is in order to make sure everyone is treated fairly. Um, then it's like, so ecosystem agreements are like special promises made between different groups, and they have rules to follow, and if they don't, they are first of all, if there are disagreements, there are ways to resolve them and to make things right. Okay, now let's talk about the resilience fund. The Resilience Fund is a self-insurance instrument for funding legal defense and is controlled by Maker Governance. Resilience Fund has a budget of 5 million DAI per year. Okay, so we have seen like a lot of problems lately when it comes to regulation, so we think this is important. So the Resilience Fund is about helping MakerDAO and the members when they face legal challenges. So it's like, as it mentioned here, it's like having insurance to protect them in case they need legal defense. This fund exists in order to pay for legal defense if someone takes legal action against MakerDAO or the people who are part of MakerDAO. Um, uh, in order to manage the resilient funds and make sure that this is being used properly, there is an special people for this. We have the Resilience Technical Committee and the resilience bodies. So these are groups that help decide how the money is used, and they also provide advice on legal matters and risk management. Let's focus on the Resilience Technical Committee. So they consist of people who have experience in insurance, they have experience in risk management, and of course in law, and they give advice on evaluating claims and improving the fund. So these people are selected and paid for their services by the physical resilience facilitator. They are the ones that are in charge of managing the resilient funds. So yes, the physical resilience facilitator. And there's also another group. Another important actor in about this, which is the lawyer registry. Basically, it's a list of specialized lawyers who can provide legal help to MakerDAO and the people involved in the participants. So these people, these lawyers, need to meet certain criteria, certain requirements, like, of course, having a license to practice law, having experience with MakerDAO, and of course there need to be no conflicts of interest. So what they're doing this because if someone needs legal help and wants to be, they can have this legal help, but there is a process for this. So this process includes submitting an application, includes getting the approval, and of course, in order to do this, they need to provide the necessary documents to support their claim. And the ones that review these are of course, the Resilience Technical Committee. So they are the ones that reviews the claim and makes recommendations. And if they are approved, then the funds are paid out to cover the legal expenses. Of course, I'm gonna read this part. The fund management, non-legal risk, claims processes, eligibility, and decision making. Policyholder entity established for risk management and trustworthy. Yes, and of course there are some rules about what kind of legal actions are covered and what actions are not covered. And then these are the ones, right? The pending claims or conflicts of interest, let's say willful or criminal offenses, or of course are generally not covered uh, by the fund. Okay, resilience research and preparedness. Ongoing legal prep. Continuous work across jurisdictions focus on high risk areas. There is a budget up to, of course, are governed by MKR votes. Budget decisions triggered by MKR vote in a weekly governance cycle. Funds availability, full amount accessible at the start of the year. Okay, so this part talks about it's referring to being ready for unexpected situations and making sure there is enough money to deal with any problems that might come up. And in order to do this, of course, it needs to be important research and be prepared in case there are any legal issues or risks that could affect the maker ecosystem. Um, so um, so the people in charge of supporting the ecosystem need to make sure they are always studying and learning about how to handle difficult situations. And they also need to have, of course, money set aside to deal with any legal problems that come up. Um, that's why they also mentioned the budget. Um, so yes, in simple terms, this document is about being. I mean, this part is about being ready for problems and having enough money to handle them. There is a budget for this, and it can be used by voting on who should get the money, and this is weekly. Okay. Um, this is the last section, which is the purpose system, um, which is like a rule book that it says how to use emissions to help different, let's call them, yes, charities and causes, because they want to support many different causes, of course, chosen by the community. They also have rules in place to make sure that the help they give has a real and lasting impact. So financial success sharing. A maker ensures shared prosperity via charitable actions. Purpose system. Token emissions allocated to subDAOs for diverse charitable causes regulated by the support scope framework. Community involvement. Aligned community members encouraged to participate in governance, handle misalignment. Uh, Purpose fund. This is the amount of MKR allocated from reserves and for promoting open source AI and its public good impact. So yes, the purpose system is a plan to support projects using open source AI and software, and they have, of course, rules to make the funds to make sure that the funds are being used well. Um, Also, I would like to add in here that this starts when the new chain is launched. So that means in phase five of the endgame. And also explains how, of course, the purpose funds are given to subDAOs. And some other relevant information about this is that all the tokens from the purpose funds need to be used by the year 2033. Okay, so at the beginning of the categories, I mentioned that there are some kind of like changes that we would like to make, and we're going to explain why. But before that, we're going to go with this one, which is the um, we're going to modify. We want to modify the MIP 106 component 1.1.3.3. So first, I'm going to read the component and then what we want to modify. Okay, so the advisory council can, in some cases, produce work output that is not directly compatible with the formatting of scope artifacts. In this case, the support facilitators must either transcribe it themselves or hire an ecosystem actor to perform the transcription. This role does not require pre-approval by Maker governance. So this is how it is in the Maker improvement proposal, and we want to modify it to the advisory council can, in some cases, produce work output that it's not directly compatible with the formatting of scope artifacts. In this case, support facilitators should transcribe them themselves or help the advisory council choose the most appropriate format for the deliverables. Apart from this, we are also adding another component. So it would be 1.1.3.3.1, which is the same one as this, which is so this should be or this is what we want to add. The advisory council is a technical expert in the field in which it is hired to perform a job. Despite being desired, it won't necessarily understand how scopes and atlas format is. That's why they can request facilitator support on the format for their work output. Now, why do we want to add this? Well, following the line with the changes that we did last Thursday in the previous meeting when it was about governance advisory council. Well, the advisory council is an expert, usually technical, and might not know how to write a scope, and of course might need support from the facilitator to do so. And we believe it is important to take care of economics of MakerDAO. We do not consider that an ecosystem actor should be hired to perform the transcription. So yes, this is in order to, because we want to prioritize the careful management of makers' finances. Okay, then we want to add this. So this is how it is in the scope. The support facilitators must balance and prioritize the resource allocated to the AVC support. If resource constrained, the responsible facilitators must prioritize resources to focus on providing support to the AVCs that are most valuable to governance security. Governance security value is primarily determined by the size of the AVC, but also by the focus of the AVC. This means that smaller AVCs that introduce significant diversification benefits and increased voter choice must be prioritized above their size. Okay, so this is kind of unclear for us, so we want to add the following. The size of the AVC is determined by the verified MKR holding of its members. Resources for the 5 bigger active AVCs should be distributed equally. If there are more than 5 active AVCs, starting from the sixth one on the resources allocation criteria, should take into account the focus of AVC as per 2.1.1. And we want to add this. Um, I'm going to read first. So when there are more than 5 active AVCs, the support facilitators must post a message on the Maker forum where they detail the criteria they use to prioritize AVC's resource allocation. So why do we want to add this? We believe that it is correct to prioritize the most important AVC. We understand that they are a very important component for governance security, but we also believe that this type of selection may tend to centralization. For this reason, we proposed a minimum priority of 5 AVC to prioritize resources. Okay, so when we justify a decision in the forum, it means that we provide reasons or explanations for why we made that particular decision. So this is important because it makes the decision um, public and visible to everyone in the community. So by doing this, there is a record of the decision-making process, which allows tracking, transparency, that ensures that the decision is yes, it's transparent, it's open, and it can be followed and understood by others. So this adding this promotes accountability and trust within the community, and also it shows that um, decisions are based on thoughtful considerations and can be discussed and reviewed by others. So these are basically what we are putting in here to kind of like to summarize, going back to on the first two. It's that we want to I mean, the suggestion we make, it's in order to prioritize the makers finances. This means being mindful of how money is spent and ensuring that expenses are justified and and are aligned with makers' economic well-being. So by making these changes, especially the first two ones when it talks about this, um, we aim to create a sustainable and financially stable environment for maker, and this will enable maker to effectively support its user and also maintain a strong financial foundation for the long term. So before that, so yes, this is again based of how we're interpreting this. So if the delegates have also something to say about this, you can give the comments, especially in what you guys think about the proposals, because we've been giving a lot of thought into it. So it would be awesome if you could also give us kind of insights to understanding better, and also provide valuable input for further discussion. Um, and before finishing this, don't forget the following info. If you appreciate our work and share our values, consider to becoming an aligned delegate of Sovereign Finance AVC. If you are an MKR holder, you can delegate to our aligned delegates, as I mentioned before, Cocky, Hulk. And in our next meeting, we will talk about protocol scope. So yes, our next meeting will be the same time next Thursday. There was also something that which is this, the template for. I'm not gonna go farther into this. Don't worry, but this is in the link. There is also, you're gonna find this template, which is for what we think it should be the perfect profile of the members of the advisory council, which we're gonna let also the link for this, so you can give us feedback about what do you think about this. And I want to stop, and that will be all. Thank you so much for coming, and see you guys next Thursday at the same time. Bye bye.
for DAO.